Cody Bellinger trade watch continues after he opted back into his Cubs contract. Now, all of a sudden, it seems like the Cubs are doing everything in their power to move him out and get that money loose to be able to go out and make some moves in this offseason. We're going to talk about that. But what about Seiya Suzuki? Is he on the trade block? Well, according to some sources, he is. So we'll get into all that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Go Cubs. Let's get this party started. And again, great to see all you guys today. Hey, say guys, Mick Gillespie, Cubs Baseball channel, and it is great to talk to you guys today. And this is surprising. I mean, the last couple off seasons, all we've done is spend our time talking about Cody Bellinger. Last year, it was were the Cubs going to be the team to sign Cody Bellinger, and we were wondering like what the market looked like and how that was going to affect things, and would he come back after his fantastic comeback player of the year season? And now he opted back into his option contract. A lot of people feel like it's a terrible deal for the Cubs, $27.5 million. And the question is, are the Cubs going to trade him? And it's really crazy to think, that someone who is arguably the best player on the team is on the trade block. But we've talked about this. When he opted back in, it made no sense roster construction-wise because the Cubs have an abundance of outfielders and they have a really good would be a sophomore first baseman and Michael Busch over at first, and there's just not a spot for Cody Bellinger. So the watch continues. Word on the street, and that's really just sources, saying that maybe the Yankees, even if they sign Juan Soto, would be willing to go out there and pay for Cody Bellinger. And the reason why is that the Yankees have never been afraid to spend money. They got to the World Series last year, lost to the Dodgers, didn't have enough firepower to beat LA. And LA goes out and they bring in Cy Young Award winner and add to their rotation. And they're just trying to get better. And they're doing all these things to improve themselves. And the Yankees are like, hey, wait a second. This is New York, man. You're the second city. We're the first city. And we're not afraid to spend money. So apparently the Yankees may be willing to make a deal, even if they sign Juan Soto, which they're in the battle right now. And they're saying that it's over $600 million for a Juan Soto contract. So we'll see what happens on this front. It's really interesting, though, because I'm curious to know what the Cubs are going to get back. But there's some other teams that you're hearing, possibly the Angels, and now maybe even the Texas Rangers, the team that won the World Series 2 years ago. And they did it by building up a farm system, bringing guys up. But they also went out and signed some top prospects. Some top players, some top free agents to go with the prospects. And now you're looking at it and you're going, hey, man, they had a down season. They got Bruce Bochy. They know what it takes to win. They had some injuries last year. Yeah, Cody Bellinger. And look, Texas has some players that they could possibly put in this trade, plus take the money, that would make this worth it to the Cubs. And it feels like this is one of those deals. Like it's like I just got this feeling that with the Cubs, they're being very patient about the money that they're going to spend. I think Jed Hoyer's shown that that's the way he is, but I think that the front office is saying, hey, we're not getting into some deals here that we're going to regret, and you're on a one-year contract, and if you don't get it done, you're not going to be here, and we don't want to put somebody in a spot where, they're in a bad place as far as these contracts go. The other thing, too, is why do the Cubs have guys like Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki signed to no trade clauses when they had all these prospect outfielders coming up, and now they're ready and there's no spot for them? And so the other thing, I saw this on Bleacher Nation, is that Seiya Suzuki with a no trade clause could be on the block, which means basically if you trade Seiya Suzuki, he's just got to agree to the trade. So I don't know, what his willingness is to get traded or isn't to get traded, but at the end of the day, he's a good player. His defense isn't great. He's had some injury issues, but at the end of the day, like the guy is pretty good. Like I would say he's solid. And when he's healthy, and at the beginning of last year, before he got hurt, he was one of the best players in baseball. But you've got too many young players that are, first off, more affordable. Secondly, you traded to get them and you develop them, and they're ready to go. that are in position to take these outfield spots, and you don't have any outfield spots. And I'm surprised that you don't hear Ian Happ's name as one of these guys that, even if you're going to put Seiya Suzuki in that mix to trade, I mean, I would think Ian Happ would be in there just because left field's an easier position to fill. But he is a switch hitter. He is a 3-time Gold Glove winner. But he may not even be interested in that. I don't know what Seiya Suzuki's feel is on, do you want to get traded or not? But at the end of the day, it's just interesting to me that you would include a no trade clause when you would look at the organization and how things were kind of progressing and know that you got Owen Casey, know you got Pete Crow Armstrong, know that you got Alexander Canario, know that you had Brennan Davis, even though he didn't make it. But he was in that mix for a while, prospects. And Kevin Alcantara, the Jaguar. You had all these guys, they're ready to go. You got to get them in the big leagues and let them play, and you just don't have any spots for them. Plus the money that you could be spending on finding someone that would fit the middle of the lineup. Now, to me, it just feels like Bellinger is going to be the guy that you move in this deal just because he doesn't have the no trade clause, and he's a former MVP, and he's a comeback player of the year, and he's a left-handed batter. So we'll find out, but the Cubs need teams competing for Cody Bellinger. No doubt about it. That's the way you're going to move him out and get some value back. And to me, it's not just about, hey, we're willing to give this guy up, and we really don't care about the $27 million. I feel like that's a small part of it. Well, not a small part, but a part of this. But the other thing, too, is you've got to get something back in return. And I feel like that's kind of where the Cubs are when I look at this, the Cody Bellinger aspect of this. But it's interesting to see Seiya Suzuki's name out there. But I've been saying it, and you guys know that you watch the channel. I talk about this all the time. The Cubs and these contracts and all of these outfielders, it just doesn't make sense when you look at what the organization has and the flow of the organization to the major leagues. And then, some of you guys will get on here and you'll say, hey, man, the Cubs are cheap. They don't want to spend on free agents. The Cubs, I'd say they've been in the top 8 as far as free agent spending. They're not the Dodgers. They're not the Yankees, but they're also not Cleveland. That's buried down at the bottom. I mean, they've spent on free agents, or even to keep their guys. The problem is that you look at some of these deals and you're like, hey, man, did you maximize those? Now, I don't have a problem with the Seiya Suzuki contract. I don't even have a problem, and I know some of you guys do, with the Cody Bellinger deal. But when I look at Dansby Swanson at $177 million and the guy's batting 8th, it's just not good enough. You're taking that kind of money, and yeah, I mean, you might play great defense, Gold Glove defense. You might run, you might be a leader, but you've got to hit for that. You can't just be a guy that does all the other things but not hit. So, that deal sucks a lot of the life out. You could put Luis Vasquez in there, and he could play Gold Glove defense. I don't know if he's a leader, but he could hit what Dansby did last year, except, I mean, we saw Dansby kind of coming along at the end of the season. But you're paid to be, for that kind of money, you need to be 2, 3, 4 in the lineup. You need to be contributing. You need to be a threat, not buried at the bottom and hoping that you might get on base. Put me in a spot where I might see a fastball. I mean, you got to be somebody that can hit. And that's the biggest problem I have with the contract. Now, personally, I really like Dansby Swanson. I like what he brings to the table, the charisma, the leadership, and all that. But, dude, you got to hit. That's just all there is to it. And I'm sure they're going, you know what? We're not getting into another one of these deals. We had Jason Hayward stuck out there in right field that didn't earn his money. He just didn't. And I love the speech. I love everything about Hayward off the field. He always gave a great effort. The guy did his best, but he just couldn't hit. And for that kind of money, when you pay these guys that, you just want them to hit. You just want them to live up to the contract. Nobody ever has a problem when you talk about the guys that live up to the contract. This guy you pay, and then you're not getting a whole lot out of. So I'm just keeping an eye on this. I don't think they're going to trade Seiya Suzuki. It's more complicated with the no trade clauses. You get, sometimes these guys will have, hey, look, I'll go to these teams. And then all of a sudden you're limited to the teams that are willing to trade him. Cody Bellinger is going to get traded. Where's he going to go? Probably the Yankees, because I could see the Yankees being like, look, we'll give you the prospects, but the Cubs got to have some other teams get in this so that the Yankees feel compelled to not only pay the contract, but to also step up with some players in return. And they might not be minor leaguers. The Cubs may say, hey, you know what? We need some bullpen help. Give us one of your best bullpen guys that has some control. Maybe they need a middle of the lineup bat. I don't see the Yankees giving that up. And, and as this free agent thing continues, we'll find out. But the Cubs certainly, there's just a lot of smoke around Cody Bellinger right now and where he might go. All right, you guys tell me, get in the comment section, like, subscribe, thumbs up. We're going to get into this. We'll keep talking about this as the Hot Stove League continues. I'm not, and don't get in here. And I see some of you guys are like, am I cheering to trade Cody Bellinger? I'm not. I don't know. Honestly, if you're just going to trade him for money, you might as well keep him in my book, right? You've got to get some value back. Or if you trade him and you open up the money, then I want to see, a Corbin Burns. I want to see a Max Fried. I want to see somebody that's going to come in and make an absolute difference for the Cubs. Not just not just, hey, we're going to save some money. I mean, you got to get some value back. Give me an ace in the rotation. So anyway, we'll get into that more as this hot stove thing goes. But thank you guys. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.